Hey everyone, Joe Waxman here. This morning, I was going to make another celebrity astrology reading, but a lot of the current events are weighing on my mind, as I'm sure they have been yours. There's a lot of concern right now. I'm sure you've heard that the Queen of England has died, and not that that in itself really has much impact upon me. I'm sure some people are bothered by that, but it's really the ramifications around all that. There's a lot of talk about various things going on, happening. Tensions are very high right now with everything. And so I thought I'd use this as an opportunity to look at the astrology, the current transits, and try and make some sense of things that are going on and what maybe we can expect. This is all speculative, but it's good to have some sort of basis for speculations to help put our mind at ease and whatnot, rather than just stabbing in the dark. All right, first of all, I pinned this because this kind of gives a bit of context. This is the date for when everything went to crap, basically. I mean, we can look back and we can clearly see that we're not over this whatever this thing is that happened. And astrologically, it happened around January 12th, 2020. I'm sure there are other factors, but this was like the most pinpointed date of the astrological significance that happened. That was January 12th, 2020, and I'm sure you all know what happened right after that. The scary demic, the stupid demic, right? Oh my God, there's a flu. Now everyone gets to shut down their business and get locked in their house and force gene changing jabs. So I'm trying to pick my words carefully so I don't get banned. Banned off social media. All this tyranny started happening right around this time with this heavy dose of Capricorn. I mean, look. All right, I'm adding the planetary nodes, but that's actually very significant. But look at this. Okay, this is January 12th, 2020. I just want to count how many Capricornian influences there are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 Capricorn influences. I mean, that's super duper Capricornian. Capricorn, for those of you who don't know, is the sign that's most associated with the devil, with Satan. It's even the astrological. If you look at the what's it called? Jesus. Constellation. Sorry, my brain's not working very well in the morning. I didn't even have my coffee yet. I always like to do this like first thing in the morning, not first thing, but early in the morning. Anyway, the constellation looks like a goat's head, or not a goat's head. Well, kind of. It's got like horns. It's like a triangle and it's got horns. Anyway, Capricorn is associated with Satan out of all the signs, the devil. And we have the south node, the planetary nodes of Jupiter's south node, Pluto's south node. You can't quite see it because it's right on the ascendant there. Not that that's supposed to be. And then even though this looks very far away, it's not. It's just 3 degrees. Saturn's south node, all conjunct on this point with the Sun, Saturn, Pluto, and even Mercury's here. I mean, that's too intense, right? Conjuncting, and what do these represent? The Pluto and Saturn and Jupiter also, but Jupiter oscillates for some reason. I'm not really sure about why, the astronomy of it, but Jupiter's south node oscillates between Capricorn and 29 degrees Sag. where it is right now. So at least that's good. Like sometimes Jupiter South Node is in its own domicile of Sagittarius, so there's some wisdom, natal wisdom pouring in through the, you know, through the background of humanity from Jupiter. It's connecting to its Sagittarian wisdom. But Pluto and Saturn are their South Node is in Capricorn, pretty much, you know, it's not, it changes very, very slowly. Like I think 1 degree every 72 years or something like that. So basically we all have Pluto and Saturn South Node in Capricorn. Right around that mark, the 21, 22, 23 degrees. And with this, and then the Saturn Pluto conjunction, along with all these other planets in Capricorn, right at that degree, is a deep, deep wound in the whole world's civilization. It's like, this is like the I think the astrologers of the Illuminati astrologers, when they saw this, they were just like, you know, like finally our time has come to bring upon hell, you know, raise hell upon the earth, right? Because this is like Satan's timing to rise up, you know. I mean, unfortunately, that's Capricorn is so materialistic and so all about, you know, like building and success and climbing to the top of the food chain, the corporate ladder, the material world. It really you know, and there's nothing wrong with Capricorn. I don't mean to paint it in a dark, bad picture, but it can be used in a very negative way because it is this tyranny, this top-down control. And we're seeing this everywhere on every channel, like this overly Capricornian paradigm where governments and executives and CEOs and corporations and all of them, they're just like laughing, you know, like all the way to the bank with their foot on our heads, you know, like squashing, crushing us as much as possible, you know, tyrannically and in every way that they can. Lockdowns, well, lockdowns also have to do with I'm sorry, Uranus in Taurus, which it was just getting started at that time. Now we're really in there, and astrology has a little bit of a delay because its influence is energetic. So it's like, first you have the astrological event, then, you know, months or even years later, you feel it, right? And so we're feeling this. We're feeling this. This is happening now. We're really feeling, we've been feeling this. We're still feeling this. This Capricorn, this is so Capricornian. And then the Taurus too. Uranus and Taurus does not do well. It's good for, you know, lockdowns and ruining the economy, ruining the supply chain, famine, poverty, just it's everything we're experiencing. We're having an earth moment here of just like crushed by earthly materialism and stagnation. It's about to get worse. Sorry, but the queen dying, whether that happened now, some people are saying no, it happened a while ago. They're just announcing it now because of the dates, significant dates. I don't want to get into that, but whether that's true or not, I don't know. But we're still reeling from that. My point was, we're still reeling from this Capricornian hellish conjunction of Saturn and Pluto, pretty much conjunct the South Node of Saturn and Pluto in Capricorn. And I just want you to make sense. I want you to understand this. This is for all of society, because remember I said these move so slowly that they're just like 1 degree every 72 years, that the whole world has been entrenched in a Saturn Capricornian vibe for, I don't know, hundreds of years. I don't even know when they changed, but long enough to say that this is all of society. That is, the whole world is being influenced by this heavy materialism, right? We can feel that. We know that. Like the world is overly materialistic, right? The North Node, the resolution, is in Cancer. We need to incorporate that warmth, that compassion, that concern, the care for the family, for the children, for the one another, loving each other, caring for each other. There's a lot of problems with Cancer, but there's a lot of problems with Capricorn. And what we lack as a society is much more Cancerian, the love, the nurturing, the care, the genuine concern. Right now, we suffer from an excess of Capricornian domination through materialism and control and power, the excess love of power, control of authoritarianism. We've seen that again and again and again in different forms, whether you want to call it communism, socialism, fascism, or just like the Illuminati, the Masons, the Catholic Church, right? It's just all this concentration of power among the hands of the elites, the royal families, another one, right? The royal families around the world. It's not just the British royal family, all these bloodlines that are so powerful. They control everything. The central banks, the Rothschilds, it's everywhere. It's endemic. It's Capricornian thing. It's just, and we've had it up to our, up to the nth degree of this overwhelming Capricornian influence. It's just dominating all of life on Earth. So as long as Pluto is still in Capricorn, it's basically highlighting that conjunction and keeping it alive, really keeping the influence very strong. So our first breath of fresh air is when Pluto is going to enter Aquarius sometime in 2023. I'm not sure the exact dates, but don't hold your breath, because it's going to go into Aquarius, then it's going to go back into Capricorn, then it's going to go back into Aquarius. And this whole process is a couple-year process. It's not going to be done until 2025. And that's the date that I'm giving for relief, 2025. And that's just the energetic shift. That's when the astrology happens. From then on, it's going to take some time to change the vibration. Like, if you're in a hot room and you hit the AC, it doesn't cool off right away, depending on how big your room is, but there's the time element involved. So even once it hits 2025, it's still going to take some time before the change towards something better happens. And I'll elaborate on that more. But one thing that Pluto is going to do in this transit into Aquarius is hit the 0 Aquarius point, which is where Saturn and Jupiter conjuncted in sometime in the winter of 2020, I believe. But that was very powerful, and that ignited what many people call the Great Awakening, right? They have the Great Reset, we have the Great Awakening, where the minds of society, the awareness of society is really being lit up. So many more people are awakening to what's really going on in the world, the truth behind all the evil power grabbing, the Satanists, the Illuminati, the bloodlines that have all the power and all the control and all the wealth, right? The banking system, all of it, the cabal. We're gaining so much awareness to that, and Saturn being in Aquarius is really helping out a lot. With Neptune in Pisces, we're just having a deluge of misinformation, disinformation, confusion, illusion, fantasy, lies, deceit, and rainbow woke SJWs trying to they're just as delusioned as they're the most delusion. But the point is, it's a fog of delusion, and the delusion is not limited to the woke insane brigade. There's so much confusion even among the truth seekers, the whether you call them right wing or just the truth, conspiracy theorists or truthers or whatever you want to call them, the people who are not believing in the lies. they're also believing in their own lies. So I don't want to make it seem like, one side has the truth and the other side has it. There is a side that's more digging deeper into the truth and is more aware of the truth, but there's a lot of lies among them too, and it's very easy to be deceived right now. Very easy. There's just so much confusion, so much misinformation, so much lies, so much deceit. It's the Neptunian fog. You call it fog of war, but I mean, I guess we're in a war, so that applies. Fog of war, if you like. But it's fog, it's confusion, it's delusion, it's fantasy, it's an all-embracing woke nightmare, if you ask me. Yeah, but like I said before, it's a good time to connect with the divine, with God, with the spirit, however you want to call it. I'm really not hung up on terminology or words. If you like to, praise Jesus, fine. Just don't be fundamentalist about it. Don't be like, the only way is Jesus. I mean, if you do that, I can't really buy by it, because that's no different than any other fundamentalist group that's like, the only way is Allah. The only way is, I don't know, Krishna or Moses, or I don't know. I mean, I don't really bother myself with religion, so I don't really know what people say except on social media. I'm not religious. I can't follow anything. I really can't. I'm too independent. Like, I'm just not gonna be like, open a book and be like, oh, that's what the truth is. This is what the book says. Oh, yes, this is God right here in this book. No, I don't care what book it is. I'm not doing that. So my advice is, don't be fundamentalist. Believe whatever you want to believe, but realize that other people have their own way, and it's, different strokes for different folks. There is no one way. There really isn't. And so I challenge anyone about that point. There's many ways to the truth, many paths. Jupiter and Chirons in Aries, so there is a strong aggressive element. I mean, Jupiter is Jupiter, so Jupiter represents wisdom, but Aries is quite strong and aggressive. So Jupiter is probably the best planet to have in Aries as far as like peace and calm, because Jupiter naturally carries wisdom with it. Chiron's a very wounded planet, so Chiron's been in Aries for quite a while, and Chiron in Aries kind of represents the wounds of the individual and the minority groups, which the individual is the biggest minority group. So Aries, is kind of like the self, the head, the singularity. Anyway, Chiron's not a major player, so I'm not going to spend much time on that. Uranus is in Taurus. I mean, I covered this before, but we're just briefly recapturing what's going on. Expect things to get worse with money, food, the markets, travel, stagnation, market stagnation, economic stagnation, shutdowns, lockdowns. We're heading into a really, really dark winter. Europe is experiencing the worst economic, energy shortage, food shortage that it's ever seen, and it's just, the whole world is about to experience that. Really, I mean, except for hopefully there are some countries where they're just like left alone to take care of themselves and doing all right, because the globalists are, this is an intentional take. It's got nothing to do with Putin and Ukraine. I mean, that's just a contributing factor, but that's not really the what's going on. They could have ended that. Guys. Anyone who thinks that it's Putin's the bad man, he's to blame, it's nuts. They could have. Nobody's calling for peace. You got to realize this. They're egging him on. They're pushing it. They're trying to push nuclear weapons on his border. They want to bring Ukraine into NATO, which is basically a unified front against Russia. It's like the Cuban Missile Crisis. I know I'm not the only one saying that. I mean, I've heard it from other people. That's how I know. Like, I'm not this political savvy. I just listen to the right things. But it's not Putin's fault. They could have made peace, and they, they, they did it to themselves. This is intentional takedown. And now with the Queen being dead, they're saying that, well, they're going to change one of the things that they do. This is the longest reigning monarch in England's history, I think, something like that. They're going to change the currency to have Prince Charles. But with the whole Great Reset and everything, I mean, what more perfect opportunity than to roll out CBDCs, digital currency? That's what some people are saying is going to happen next with the new currency. Instead of reprinting the whole paper thing, what's coming is the CBDCs, digital currency, total control, Capricornian, complete domination, right? Complete utter control over the people with vaccine passports. Everyone needs to be jabbed, or your CBDCs are getting turned off. Government's going to come in as the savior for a little while and say, "Oh, you can't afford your energy? All right, well, here's some money," and they're going to get you hooked. And then they're going to roll out the CBDCs, and it's all going to be done because there's not going to be any. What I'm hearing actually is even that the governments of Europe are going to take complete control over the private sector, and because it's crisis that they created, complete control and of factories, and everyone's going to have to produce what they tell them to produce. There's not going to be any free markets anymore. Capricorn, tyranny, top-down control, 100% full-on draconian dictatorship, tyrannical rule, whether you call it fascism or communism, or who cares? It's all the same thing. They're lying to you when they're like, "Oh, fascism's right wing and communism's left." That's a psyop to get you polarized and be like, which kind of dictatorship would I rather have? Because that's the only two choices: communism or fascism. I mean, it's complete insanity, right? But they're the same thing. I mean, they're obviously fucking with you because a lot of people are just really stupid, right? And so they're like, "Oh, you only have a choice between communism and fascism." Right. So anyway, whether you want to call it communism or fascism really makes zero difference. Left wing or right wing in their paradigm, the way they've they mess up everything. They just redefine everything, and then it's like, for all these stupid idiots who believe whatever their government tells them, that's all they can think of, right? They can't think outside of what government tells them to think, what the mainstream media tells them to think. And these are people who are all living in one, there's different names for it, but like a consensus state, right? They just have to follow the consensus, the status quo. They don't know how to think for themselves. But in any case, this Uranus in Taurus is definitely contributing to that. It's lining up with this Pluto in Capricorn, supporting it. This trine, right? Uranus is exactly trine the south node of Saturn in Capricorn, and pretty much the south node of Pluto. So Uranus in Taurus is greatly contributing to that whole top-down control, boot on your head, tyranny, draconian tyranny that we're experiencing. Mars is in Gemini. It's conjuncting the north node of Uranus. This could be good or bad because Mars is going to forward the Uranian impulse of Gemini, which is this is more towards the intellect and media. It's away from the radicalization of philosophy, which we've been experiencing in the past. And we have gotten some very radical, completely Uranian philosophies. I mean, just to think of some of them, communism, fascism, Nazism, even religion, you could see the extremism in religions, religious fanaticism. Now we're going towards the other extreme of media, technology, communication, the intellect, all these things are being sped up with Uranus's north node in Gemini. So Mars might help that, but more to the point of why this time is very topsy-turvy and kind of dangerous, and a good time where this heavy earth draconian. Also, let's not forget we got a grand earth trine here going on with sun in Virgo, so this heavy earth element is upon us, with Capricorn leading the way really, but backed up by Uranus in Taurus and then sun in Virgo. The real problem is that this is retrograde season. Uranus is retrograde, Chiron, Jupiter, Neptune, Saturn, Pluto, and soon to be Mars. And retrogrades are going against the grain. That's the time where people can do things that are contrary or more contrary than what they normally would be in as opposed to when the sun comes closer, breaks out of the retrogrades and starts to where all the planets go direct when the sun is, I guess this winter, even though the weather will be dark and bad, at least the energy will not be retrograde. I guess Mars would still be retrograde at some point through Aquarius. It'll break, and that is January. So I guess starting in the spring, things will get a little better. But from now through the fall, things could be pretty bad because of all the retrogrades. And retrogrades could be like somebody, does something that's like instigates further war or battles, or the government enacts things that will really go against the will of the people. It's a time where people can do things that go against the grain, that go against the harmony, that go against the flow of things. So if they want to enact something that is that it will be really controversial, retrograde season is the time for that. And I know retrograde, I'm calling it retrograde season because all of these planets seem to be lined up on one side and the sun's opposite. So we're getting a lot of retrogrades at once. It's not an actual thing other than when it happens. It doesn't happen it doesn't necessarily happen this way, but it is happening this way now. So yeah, the retrogrades are a time. And then let's not forget Saturn square Uranus. This can indicate a real market collapse, a further calamity towards everything that Taurus represents, and Aquarius. Aquarius represents financial markets, but Taurus represents food and security and wealth. And all those things can take a heavy hit. We're already seeing that they are. And they will, and we could see a huge market crash. That's not just my prediction. I mean, I hear things and I know what makes sense. That's how I know what to follow. But I want to look at the draconic transits because I think that's interesting, and we'll see how relevant they are. We're getting a lot of Capricornian influence here right now in the draconic with Saturn and even Moon, but although Moon's passing, but Moon and draconic Moon in Capricorn as the Queen dies. That's interesting, significant perhaps. She died, or at least it was announced that she died when Moon was conjunct Saturn. This I think is quite interesting that the draconic Jupiter is conjunct Saturn, transit of Saturn exactly right now. So this is actually triggering that 0 degree Aquarian conjunction, great conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn. So right now it could be there could be a furthering of the Great Awakening. Like really, a lot of people can be opening their eyes towards a much bigger reality of truth. So that's hopeful. I think that's that's relevant, and I think that's happening. Neptune is actually conjuncting its own south node. See the nodes stay the same. The planets move in the Draconic chart. So Neptune is conjuncting its own south node. I think that's interesting. Neptune is not such an intellectual planet, but Neptune is the imagination and even though transit Neptune is in domicile in Pisces, I think this is helping the Aquarian archetype of realization and manifest, awakening. Uranus is in Aries because, look, the way the Draconic chart works is that it follows the node. Like the node will always be at 0 degrees Aries in the Draconic chart. See 0 degrees Aries. So before, when the nodes are moving retrograde while the planets are moving prograde, when the node was over here above higher degrees to Uranus would have been Draconic Pisces. Then once it passes, Uranus goes into Draconic Aries. And why that's significant is that because first you have the conjunction, first you have the astrological aspect, then you feel the effects of it later. Uranus is in Aries, and it was in Pisces. So this is actually a new event, a new transition that happened fairly recently. And Uranus in Aries is much more aggressive. It's shocking events because Aries is so initiative. It's all about inspiration and starting things, starting projects, starting this, starting that, starting fights, starting wars, starting everything. It's not just wars and aggression and all that, but it can be. So in other words, and Uranus is all about progress and shocking sudden events. But Uranus in Aries can produce something that's very shocking, very sudden. And with everything being in retrograde, suddenly we could have a huge change in all society. Suddenly, there could be war. Suddenly, there could be, government could just announce, okay, right now we're doing drastic measures, right? Drastic control. We're taking drastic, there could be a terrorist attack or a false flag attack or whatever, right? And suddenly we're taking power. We're taking over. We're getting all, draconian, tyrannical. We're clamping down and we're, we're tightening the screws on everything and no more freedom for anyone. I'm saying this is a dangerous time, right? Uranus is also conjuncting transit Jupiter. So it's making Jupiter much more radical. Uranus is radical. Uranus and Jupiter together is radicalized philosophy. So any sort of philosophy that's radical and initiatory, that can happen right now. Like starting something newly radical, a radical new philosophy can be born. Okay. This is real stuff. We could really see like, okay, they're gonna, instead of printing new bills with Charles on it, they're just scrap that. Okay, now CBDCs. Okay, now government's taking control of all businesses, right? Okay, because we have a major disaster crisis, right? Okay. They've ended the dollar. Okay, we have to do the same thing here in America. Okay, government's taking control because nobody can afford to, live anymore. Government's taking control of everything, and CBDCs and forced labor camps, and oh my gosh, everyone's dying. Oh, okay, well, let's round everyone up and force inject them. Things could get really dark really quickly. Pluto is transit Pluto is at the last stages of Capricorn. So this is like wrap up time. This is like the finale. the grand Capricornian finale of complete and total and utter control. These authoritarians are not going to let this moment go to waste, and the energy is on their side before the energy shifts. Once that energy shifts in 2025, let's see if there's anything else interesting going on here. Mars is in Aries in Draconic, so that's furthering that Martian element of being able to implement, take initiative, start things. War could start as well. There could be an escalation of war in Russia. In fact, they want that because they want to kill off as many people as possible. They want to reduce the global population, and this just further allows them to take even more power, right? More crisis, and hopefully they'll be able to, defeat Putin in the process. Yeah, very, very scary, dangerous times. This fall, we could see a lot of major events happen. And I think that is it for all that's relevant that I want to share. Pluto's conjunct Uranus's south node in Sagittarius, and that's again, I think this is this is like relating to the ability for the philosophy to become very dark and heavy, drawing from the past, this very old radical philosophy, Uranus and Sag, south node, this old radical philosophy. Like I'm thinking like, the Masons, even the Nazis, communism. They're just drawing from, they're utilizing Pluto together with the old radical philosophies and creating something very dark and heavy and negative for total control. But the good news is that when Uranus moves into Gemini, that's actually really positive because the north node of Uranus is in Gemini. So this is really going to be able to further society in the direction that it needs to go, away from the radical philosophies, more into technology. Technology is not bad. It's the destruction of humanity that's really not good. Communication, media, truth. Well, a lot of times people associate Sagittarius with truth, but like communication and multiplicity of views. Gemini loves to see things in many different ways. It has a very flexible mindset, not deep, but very flexible and varied, right? They call it the twins, but actually it's not about duality in Gemini. It's about triplicity, because Gemini is the third sign, and whenever you have two, you have a third option with the coming together of those two. Like man and woman create a baby. It's no longer two, it's three. So Gemini represents multiplicity. So this is multiplicity of views. Uranus creates tremendous growth and acceleration for society, and this is when the blood flow of society is going to come back, right? Because we're being strangled right now with Uranus and Taurus. It's all about strangling. It's all about stagnation, like blood clots, right? This is where we're having all these blood clots. But once Uranus moves into Gemini, we're going to get all our clots removed, and all the oxygen is going to come back into the body, and we're going to be able to breathe and communicate, right? We can't even communicate. All our communications are being stifled, right? And the blood clot is just a materialization of everything that's happening right now with this heavy earth oppressive element, being forced upon us. When Uranus moves into Aries, again, the fog of war, the fog of confusion, of delusion, of fantasy, this all-embracing, hyper-woke, vigilant stupidity will just be ending. There'll be remnants of that, but the energy will not support it anymore. Aries is aggressive, but it's free-flowing, and it's clear. Aries is much more intellectually astute than Pisces. Pisces is great for arts and imagination and compassion and all-embracing acceptance and love, but we need some discrimination too. We need some Virgo with that. So Sun is in Virgo. So that's good and bad. I mean, it's supporting the draconian tyranny of the heavy earth and the stifling, blood clotting Taurus element. But it's good for the combating the delusion of Piscean influence. But that's going to change in 2025. And then Pluto will be fully in Aquarius in 2025. So we do have hope, but the next 2 years are going to be a doozy, and so is this fall. So just hang in there, hang in there, be well. We'll get through this. I mean, what else can we do? We could die. I guess we could die. That's always an option. It's something that I've kind of had to make peace with, because I might die, or any of us could die. I mean, not everyone's going to live through this. A lot of people will die, so might as well start to make peace with that now. And death is not the worst thing. It's far worse to lose your humanity, or to change your genetics. That's far worse. But anyway, guys, this was an astrological update from my perspective, and I hope you found it interesting. It's better to be prepared, even if it's, brace for impact, right? Things could get bad, better than being caught off guard and believing some fantastical delusion that's just like, oh, everything's gonna be wonderful, and no, we're just gonna keep doing all the same, everything, nothing's gonna change, everything's just gonna keep, I mean, like, slap, get over your stupid delusional ignorance, wake up. Okay, things can get bad. I mean, they really can get bad. I mean, I don't want to go into detail, but of my own life and my own experiences. But if you haven't experienced anything bad, take it from a lot of us who have. Things do get bad, and they can get bad, but they can get better too. So that's okay. It's part of life. You grow and evolve from the hardships and the difficulties. So take care of yourself, take care of the ones you love. A lot of people are saying, even non-preppers, this is the time to prepare, to have food, bags of, dry goods, grains, beans, nuts, seeds, keep the mices and roaches and flies and bugs away from them. But it's good to have those things. And silver, gold, if you have a lot of money, gold. If you don't have a lot of money, just silver. Hard assets, right? Water. There can be some tough times. People are going to starve. That will happen. I mean, there's just no way around that. So, unfortunately, we're gonna have a rough few years. But take heed, take care, be well, and grow. Evolve, connect with God, connect with Spirit. Use this as an opportunity to deepen and strengthen. All right, guys, I'll see you again soon. Thanks, guys.